So I'll just begin. So hi everyone, my name is Aswin Gopinathan. Yeah, I'm an Ashwin without an H. So I'm a software engineer at PhonePe. I work at the consumer lending team for iOS. But you might be thinking, what is an iOS developer guy doing in a Flutter conference? I've been working with Flutter for almost like 4 to 5 years now. I started back in 2019, and since then I've been part of Flutter. So what are we gonna do today, or what are we gonna build today? Let me show you the application that we're gonna build today. Okay, I'm gonna ask my crush out. No, don't worry, she's not here. She's in a whole different nation called imagination. So, as per my experiences, past experiences, I know that as soon as I give the app, she's gonna click on that no button. So I booby trap the no button. If you click on it, it's gonna keep going. Even after like 2 years or 3 years, she still wouldn't be able to click on no. But let's say what happens when she clicks on yes. I'll be standing with the guitar singing something. So this is the application that I'm going to build. It's very simple, but the thing is, this particular screen is built with native iOS, that is with Swift and UI kit, and this screen is built with Flutter. So that's the concept I'm going to talk about today. It's called Add to App. It means use Flutter in a native application. That's a layman definition you can get. Use Flutter in a native application. So let's see the architecture about it. So before I start with the architecture, let me just tell you a story. Before I joined PhonePe, I was in Zest Money. So there we had a product called personal loan. So personal loan was like a big product in the market at that time. It's like it either can bring you profit, can either bring you loss. So as per our stakeholders, we wanted personal loan to be out in the market as soon as possible. So we had only one option, build with Flutter, so that both Android and iOS can reuse that. Sorry. So that's how we ended up using Flutter for personal loan over there for both Android and iOS. So that's the same concept over here. It's called add to app. Let me talk about the architecture for that. You create, let's say, you create a screen using Flutter. Now you want to integrate into an Android application and an iOS application. So for Android, we have activities and fragments, and for iOS, we have view controllers and view. So the Flutter engine, the entire engine that makes Flutter work, is going to convert the corresponding screen to a corresponding activity or view controller in the native code. So that's how it's going to run in an Android application and an iOS application. Why don't I show the code for all of you? So as I've shown, I'm going to build this entire application. Before that, let me show you how we can get started with the entire thing. So what you need to do is create a random folder anywhere on your desktop or your Finder anywhere. I'm just going to add to app demo. So first I'm going to start with the native application because add to app basically means that you have an existing iOS application, an existing Android application, and you're going to work with Flutter into that. So I'm going to start with a new native iOS application. So I'm just going to create a new project. I'm just going to name it add to app demo. That's all. You can just leave it to the default selection over here. I'm going to put inside the folder that I've created, that is add to app demo over here. I'll tell you why I'm creating a separate folder for this. So this is done. I'll just run the application. Yeah. It's anyhow going to run. We don't have to worry about that. So now you have created, if you go to the folder over there, this is the folder I was talking about. I've created the native iOS application or the native application over there. Next, what we need to do is we need to create a Flutter application. For that, I basically go with Visual Studio Code because it makes things easier for you. So I'm going to create a new project. So in VS Code, or if you go to Android Studio, you might get an option to select the type of Flutter project you want to create. It could be an application, it could be a module, it could be a plugin or something like that. It could be even be a package also. So I'm going to choose module over here. So just select module from here. I'm going to put inside the same project, same folder where I created the native application. So I'm just going to create a new folder. I'm going to name it add to app demo. Well, even that's getting created right now. Yeah, it's created. Now, what you need to do is go back to the folder. So here you have an existing native application. Then you created a new Flutter module. Now you're going to connect both of them. So what you need to do is you already have a folder that you've created. Just drag and drop into VS Code or whichever IDEs you use for this. Then now you need to go inside the native application. As you can see, currently in iOS, basically, you can see only Xcode project. For now, you need to initialize a pod file. Pod file is where you provide all the dependencies that you need for your native application. What I'm going to do is, I'm just going to go inside that folder. I think it was add to app demo, yeah. Inside that particular native application, basically. I'm just going to run pod in it. It's going to create a pod file for me. Something seems to be wrong. Okay. Some version mismatch. Just give me a moment. This is the file. If you go here, these are some basic iOS things. I think you may need to know about it. I'm just gonna create. Just gonna go and create the pod file. Okay, created the pod file. Now go to VS Code where you open that particular folder. So you can see a pod file generated over here. So there are few things you need to add here so that the native application can talk to the Flutter application that you created. So for that, I'll just copy code from the earlier one so that it will be easier. I'll explain what this means over here. All right. Starting with the first, we need to specify the path of the Flutter module that you created over here. So the Flutter module, as you can see on the left-hand side, it's called add to app underscore, I mean add underscore to app demo. Just gonna copy that and paste the path over here. Next, this will be always hard coded because whenever you create a Flutter module, the end file that is podhelper.rb will always be inside .ios followed by Flutter directory. So that is the path I'm providing over here. I'm actually appending the entire path to a given project name. So it's like you have .ios folder, then you have Flutter folder, then you have the file podhelper.rb. Then, so you have defined where you can find the configurations for your Flutter module. Now you need to install them. For that, I've added a line over here called install all Flutter pods. That means you're going to install all the Flutter pods you have in your module, basically. So with that, yeah, there's one more thing over here that is post install. This is going to run after you install all the dependencies. This is only required when you're running the entire application on an Apple Silicon simulators. So apart from that, you don't need this basically, but it's better always to add it over here. So after I made the changes over here, just need to go back to terminal. I'm just going to clear this. I'm just going to make it. It's visible at the back, right? Good. Yeah, sure. How about now? Good. I'm just going to put it up a bit. Yeah. So since I made the changes in the pod file, now I just need to run pod install again. I mean, pod install I have to run. It's saying add to app, sorry. Fine. Okay. I forgot to change the thing. Since I copied this from an existing project that I already created, I forgot to change the target name over here. This target name will correspond to the native iOS project name you have created. That is ask to app demo. So just need to paste it over here, save, and just run the command again. So now you can see it has installed two things. That is, one is Flutter and the other is called Flutter plugin registrant. We are going to use both of these packages or plugins, you can say, to run the entire Flutter module in your native application. Now what you need to do is go back to the folder where you created the entire native project. Go inside the native project. Now you can see a new workspace has been created. Whenever you run a pod install in iOS, the Xcode project gets converted to an Xcode workspace where you will get access to all the dependencies you have added for that. So I'm just going to open that one right now. So if you go to the pods section on the top, here inside development pods, you can find the two pods that I have installed. There's Flutter and Flutter plugin registrant. Now what we need to do is we're just gonna run the application. Just give me a moment. Okay. Something seems to be up, it's not coming up properly. It happens whenever I give a live demo, so it's okay. Anyhow, from this point, I'll go back to the application that I already created so that it'll be easier for me to continue forward. So this was the entire application that I showed as a demo, where I'm asking out my crush and all those things. I don't think I'm not going to deep dive into the code. I'll share the code on GitHub after this session. You can go through it and get to know how I've implemented that. It's pretty straightforward, so it's okay. Now, I'm just gonna run this entire application. Just give me a moment. So once you have created your existing iOS application, that is already when you already have an iOS application, what you need to do is, okay, let me start from the scratch. I had made some changes for my purpose. Okay. So this is how the code will look when you create your first application. That is the first native application on iOS using UIKit and Swift. So the app delegate is basically the entry point, or you can say it's like a class that can handle all your delegations that happen in the entire app lifecycle or the iOS lifecycle. It can tell you when the background will run. I mean, it can tell you which code to run when any background task has to be executed, or anything like all the lifecycle things of iOS. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm first going to import Flutter. Then I'm going to import Flutter plugin registrant. Next, there is a overridden method. Okay, before that, you can see over here it's basically extending two particular classes, that is UI responder and UI application delegate. You need to remove that one and replace that with Flutter app delegate. This will anyhow internally, let me just show you. It internally goes and extends the UI application delegate that you saw earlier. So you can use this instead of the earlier one that I already had over here. That is this one. So I'm just gonna replace it with Flutter app delegate. Now it's gonna give me some errors. It's basically telling you need to add the override keyword over there. I'm just gonna provide an entire thing. All right. Now the code remains the same. There's not much change. Now you need to start working with integrating your Flutter application or Flutter module into this existing application. So for that, we'll start with by creating a variable that will be, it's called Flutter engine. We're going to create an instance of Flutter engine. It's not the variable. I'm going to start with the property name. I'm just going to give a random name to this Flutter engine. I'm going to give ask your crush out. You can give some random name, and you can access this Flutter engine using the name. So if you, let's say you create multiple Flutter engine instances, you can access them by this particular name. So now let's go inside the function did finish launch with option. This is the first method, or this is a method that gets called every time your app relaunches or launches for the first time. So what I'm going to do over here is, we had to initialize the Flutter engine, it's already done. And now, okay, there are two. Okay, there's one more thing. You have created an instance of the Flutter engine. Now you need to run that so that you can add new Flutter views to that. Or basically, like, let's say you have created a view on Flutter. Let me show you the example again. So when I clicked on yes, a particular screen came up. This one is built using Flutter. In order to load that, you need the Flutter engine. So In order for the Flutter engine to work, you need to like run the engine first. As like, let's say you want to start a vehicle, you need to start the engine first, then only it will move forward. So it's something similar to that. You need to run the engine first. So I'm just gonna write Flutter engine dot run. By this way, you will be able to run the Flutter engine before you can work with it. Next, you're gonna add some basic lines, boilerplate code over here. Register with self dot. Then you can either return true from here or you can directly call the superclass. It's always nice to call the superclass because you never know. Application did finish. All right. So by this way, let's just run the app once again. Let's see if it doesn't crash in between or something. I'll create a separate. Okay, I'll just give me a moment. All right, the app ran without any problems. So your setup was successful. You didn't crash the application. Now, next thing is what you did till now is you created an instance of Flutter engine and you have made it run so that whenever you want a Flutter view to be added, it will directly be added to it. You don't have to run it again. So now let's go to the point where we're gonna add the callback. Whenever you click the yes button, you want to redirect to a Flutter screen. So let's add the code for that now. I think I've already added. I'm just gonna remove the code so that I can explain that properly. Okay. So these are all the boilerplate code you need for running this entire screen. I'm just curious about this particular class, function called on yes clicked. So this particular function will be called when you click the yes button over here. So let me just rerun this again, just testing something. Works, and when you click on the yes button, it doesn't work because I just removed the code for that. So in order to get started with initializing a Flutter view controller, as I said, in iOS we have view controller. View controller basically represents the screen that you're working in. It could be a normal screen that you have. It could be any screen that you have for the iOS application. So Flutter view controller is something that you use to actually open a Flutter view. Or Flutter view can be a Flutter screen also. So basically you start by importing Flutter over here, and this is the function where we're gonna trigger the Flutter module from our native application. So I'm gonna start with getting the Flutter engine instance. So the Flutter engine instance was created in app delegate. So I'm gonna get that instance so that we have already run that over here. So you don't need to create a separate instance for that. So I'm just gonna get this instance over here. You start with let Flutter engine equal to. So you have access to the Flutter engine that you created in the file app delegate. So I'm just gonna add it over here and add some basic null check so that the app doesn't crash if the engine is not able to load over there. These are boilerplate code. Once you start looking into Swift, you'll get to know how to write this. So this is basically a null check. I've created an optional variable over here, so I need to check whether the engine exists or not. If it doesn't exist, I'm just gonna return from there. So basic boilerplate code, and now I have the access to the Flutter engine. Now what you need to do is you need to create an instance of the Flutter view controller. As I said in the architecture, Flutter engine creates two different types of view, one for Android and one for iOS. In iOS, we have view controllers. In Android, we have activities and fragments. So I'm going to create a Flutter view controller so that the view controller can be used in the iOS application. So for that, you go back to the code. It will be let Flutter view controller equal to Then you have multiple properties for Flutter view controller. We go with the one that requires an engine to be passed to it. So I'm going to go with that. The engine will be the instance that I've already created over here. Others can be nil. Nil is basically null in Swift. So I'm just going to beautify this or let it be like that. Now, you have created, let's see what's the issue over here. Flutter engine, Flutter, oh sorry, it should be Flutter engine. All right. Now I have access to the Flutter view controller, which is corresponding to the Flutter module that I created for this particular project. Next, what you need to do is once you have access to the Flutter view controller, you basically have access to the entire screen itself. Now, in Flutter, we use navigator.push to go to the next screen. It's something similar over here. We have a navigation controller. Then we have push method, push view controller. It's similar to Flutter. In Flutter, we use navigator.push. Here we use navigation controller.push view controller. iOS is very like it's complicating, but still. Now we call Flutter view controller the view controller that we created. Then I'm gonna go with the animated property to be true. Now let's see by running the application. All right. Now the no button still works as required. Now let's say if I click on yes, it's going inside. It's going to the Flutter view controller. It's going to the Flutter module that I created. But there's some issue. There's a navigation bar on the top. It shouldn't be there actually. For that, because we in the Flutter app itself can provide the app bar and create a navigation bar for that. So in order to hide that, I'm just going to add one more line of code over here. In the navigation controller instance, you have access to navigation bar. Then dot is hidden equal to true. Let's see if this will work or not. Now I clicked on yes. It went inside, doesn't have the navigation controller, the app bar on the top. Now you can use Flutter itself to provide the app bar on the scaffold and do anything you want to do with it. So this particular property shows the power of the imperative programming style that UIKit uses. It's opposed to like how in Flutter we use declarative approach. iOS uses, Swift UI, not Swift UI. UIKit uses imperative approach to change UI and everything like that. So with this, let's see, we'll just run the app again. So this is how you create a Flutter application, Flutter module, and integrate into a native iOS application. Something similar happens for Android, but I'm not the right guy to take an Android session. But I'll walk you through, like I'll give you the resources that you need to understand how you can do the same for Android. Next, let me just go forward. There's one more thing I think. I just missed something. All right. Now you might be curious. Like, let me go back to the folder structure. Now you see, the add to app demo, the first folder was the native iOS application. Then you created a a Flutter application with an underscore name and everything. Now, how does the native application know which module to pick up? Let's say you create one more module over here. Let's say you create two more or n number of modules over here. How does the Flutter, the native code know which module to pick up? But that's actually could be a limitation of add to app, but you can only import a single module at a time in a Flutter in a native application. So now you might be curious, how can we add multiple support? How can we use multiple modules in a single native application? For that, what we do is we create an entry point project, or you can say we can create an entry point module where you can import multiple projects to pubspec.yaml and create the entry point over there. So if you have a single entry point, then that entry point will connect to multiple modules, and you can use multiple modules in your application. So that's how we work with that. Apart from that, let's see. Okay, there are a lot more to talk about it, but we don't have time constraint. Because of time constraint, we can't go forward with those things. But you can always reach out to me. I'm going to be here towards the end of the session as well. So yeah. There's one more thing I need to tell. This is something that I tell everyone, and this is something that I learned from my experience. Don't try to be a Flutter developer. I'm not, I know. Try to be a mobile application developer because there's a difference in that. I'm not going to tell what's the difference. If you know, it's good. Otherwise, just reach out to me anytime during the day and explain you what it means. So again, don't try to be a Flutter developer. Try to be a mobile application developer. Yeah, you can Google search my name to know more about me, and you can reach out to me anywhere you want. Thank you.